Welcome to Winnipeg, everybody, where our first order of business is to acknowledge the best baseball team on the planet and how good the World Series championship looks on the city of Toronto and, in fact, the entire country. Do they love the Jays here in Winnipeg? Well, check this out. They spilled onto hard and fast policy.
Dennis Meyer, at the moment, is concerned about just getting the Argos into the playoff chase. And his motivational tool for this week is, we have not won 3 games all season. 3 games in a row. Let's do it today. Troy Westwood preparing to kick off, and you see the ball hang up in the wind, and it bounces out of bounds before the pinball gets an opportunity to handle it. So Troy Westwood will line up to kick off again. They'll take the ball 5 yards further back for the second kickoff attempt by Westwood.
Two very serious deep threats back there. I was very impressed last week with Rocket's attempts that he was really thriving to get the ball up the field, and he came out there and I thought he gave more effort than we had seen in the previous games earlier in the season.
He had a strong game against the Ottawa Roughriders last week. The ball is going to be held for Troy Westwood as they now kick off from the 30-yard line. And again, the ball hangs in the wind. The pinball mishandles it. The ball is loose. The Rocket goes back to pick it up, and he's down at the 25-yard line by Donald Smith. We said the wind would be a factor, and it was on that kickoff. As the pinball had difficulty in trying to play it, he tried to catch it on the run. He was unsuccessful.
Now, Ricky Foggy has to take over in bad field position now, and one of the things that Foggy's been faced with recently is those turnovers. When he doesn't have turnovers, he's been very successful.
Turnovers have plagued the Argos throughout the season. The Argos and the Bombers split their 2 previous games back in August. The toss to the pinball, and he's caught and brought down immediately. Don Booker is credited with the tackle. He's a candidate for Rookie of the Year honors in the CFL.
And if Urban Bowman was doing the voting, Von Booker would be the candidate that would win. Eddie Brown, the newcomer in that lineup that seems to have made a great impact the last few weeks.
The offensive line remains the same. 2nd and 13, Toronto. Foggy throwing deep for the Rocket, incomplete. He bumped as he was running downfield with Rod Hill, but it was incidental contact, no penalty flag, so it's 2 and out for the Toronto Argonauts, and from a defensive standpoint, I think that's what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers wanted to do early in the ballgame.
Shut him down, get him into a second and long situation. Ricky Foggy has not been running the ball very effectively himself, and again, making some poor play selections in the previous game. Here going very deep, very early, trying to make something happen with the win.
Let's see how veteran Hank Olisic handles the wind. A low driving kick. Matt Pierce catches it, and he's down at the 47-yard line. So the Bombers are inside the Argo half of the field for their first series. To start the year, Danny McManus, the Florida State product, was number 3 on the Bomber quarterbacking chart. Today, he makes his 3rd consecutive start.
And Danny McManus has been very successful in these last 2 ball games in particular. Urban Bowman very happy with the way he's played.
He's won both his starts, and in the game in which he came on in relief, he was also a winner. So he is batting a perfect 3 for 3 in games in which he has played. The pass is intercepted by Don Wilson. He pitched it out, and the Argos will take over at the 46-yard line. Don Wilson intercepts McManus on his very first pass attempt.
One of the things we talked about with Urban Bowman yesterday was the fact that he felt that Danny McManus read defensively extremely well. And then we said, well, what do you credit that to? He said, great coaching. Well, in this case, he read that Toronto defense very poorly, threw the ball behind Pillow. Don Wilson was the man on the spot, came up with the big interception.
I think Don Wilson was the best reader in that particular play.
Wilson has had success this year against Winnipeg. He intercepted a pass at the Skydome and returned it 94 yards for a touchdown, and he blocked a punt here in Winnipeg on August the 13th. The pass intended for the Rocket again. Rod Hill is there to break it up. Rod Hill has the assignment today of working against the Rocket. That's a tough chore.
And Rod Hill's fixed his shoe. He's got that built-up heel. He feels like he'll be doing better. But Von Booker is the guy that gets the pressure up front.
Speaking of pressure, this defensive line will put some pressure on you along with these 4 linebackers. These guys could be led by their spiritual leader, James West, out there. One of the most aggressive front sevens that we see in the CFL.
More aggressive than Dan Kepley in his day?
Not a chance.
On second down, Foggy looking deep. Way over the head of Eddie Brown. I'm surprised that Foggy was able to throw the football that far, considering the wind.
Well, Ricky Foggy was supposed to be throwing intermediate routes. Isn't that what Dennis Meyer, the coach of the Argos, told us, that he's going to have more patience, but hasn't been very patient lately, Dan.
Doesn't look at that, particularly 2 series, 2 second and long calls, 2 bombs. Very surprised with both of those calls.
3-man back for the Bombers on this third down punt. It bounces to Plummer. Punt returns have been a problem this year for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Their only return for a touchdown was as the result of some razzle-dazzle on Thanksgiving afternoon in Ottawa.
Yeah, they have the playground play. Danny McManus is not running a playground play. He's trying to run that offense with Richardson being his key running back, and Richardson's had fumble problems, Dan.
Great situation for him, though, in this case, with the win, having this kind of offense. The fact is that they have, in my opinion, a better running game than the Toronto team.
They met back-to-back on the 6th and 13th of August. The Argos winning 32-6 at the Skydome. The Bombers 32-17 back at Winnipeg Stadium. Richardson breaks a couple of tackles and gets a first down. We well recall his debut in a Winnipeg uniform against the Hamilton Ticats when he ran for 197 yards.
And he fumbled about 3 of those 197-yard occasions, but what you see in the Blue Bombers is exceptional speed at the wide receiver position, and Crefo's been the big gun lately. How do you like their offensive line?
I say Mr. to all of them. I like them because they're so big, they're so powerful, blocked on either side by the bookends in Gurrell and Walby.
Pass is complete to Larry Thompson for a big first down up at the 49-yard line.
Well, you got to give McManus a lot of credit, but while we're talking about offensive linemen, Don, that's probably the biggest offensive line in the league, and they do a whale of a job of protecting here. Rodney Harding doesn't come close. McManus threads the needle.
First and 10, Winnipeg. The ball is at the 49-yard line. Richardson gets the call, and Richardson picks up about 7 more. Even though Richardson missed the first 7 games of the season, he does still have a shot at becoming a 1,000-yard runner. A defensive change for the Argos. Darryl Milburn moves into the center, replacing the injured Harold Hallman.
Yeah, that guy from Grambling, Milburn, he can outrun the defensive backs. They had him in a race last week, and he did it. And speaking of defensive backs, it's the same unit they've had for the last 4 weeks. Ben Bellingham back in the lineup.
Warren Hudson looking for the first down, and the ex-Argo gets inside the 50-yard line, being stopped there by Don Moe.
Well, Dan, you didn't see it, but Milburn actually outran Jonathan Wilson in a 40-yard dash. He smoked him.
That's hard to believe, but anytime, but right now, these days, they are building those linemen and those athletes bigger, stronger, and faster. So at his size, he's at 6'3", 260, running 4.640 is it's remarkable.
He's bigger and stronger and faster than a lot of people,
including some of those who are paid to be fast. Pass complete to Rob Crefo. He loses the ball, and the Argos get it back. Carl Braisley put the hit on Rob Crefo, but turnovers are plaguing the Bombers so far in this key matchup, as they have done the Argos most of the year.
Well, that's a good read by McManus when he gets the football to him, but as Dan Kepley said, you got to come up and make some hits, and Braswell chopped that ball loose. Tackle the football.
Braz has been very, very active in that defense for Toronto. Last week being CFL Player of the Week. getting around the tackle, being around the ball, making things happen.
Carl Braisley recovered the loose football. The ball goes to the pinball, and he bounces his way out to the 30-yard line. A pickup of about 3.
It would be important to get the pin into the game here. I think he only carried the ball something like 5 times last week for less than 12, 15 yards. A guy like this, they have to be able to get in the ball, either by running it or by throwing the ball more to him. This is the kind of guy that puts a tremendous strain on a defense.
And remember, because Winnipeg does so much pressure, that pinball could break one out into the open if he can get through that first line of scrimmage.
2nd and 7, Toronto. Foggy throwing to the sidelines, and it's knocked away by Darrell Sampson. It was intended for Darrell K. Smith.
There's been a lot of cherry picking going on out there, Dan. How would you like to have that ball hanging up and you get a chance to break on it? I mean, that's easy.
That's why I got to be a linebacker. They made us there. I was just paid to tackle. They just told us to knock the ball down. We never got much of a chance to pick it off. But Darrell Sampson makes a great job. Good break on the ball. The ball was thrown late by Foggy. And again, DK had the break made already. He was out there. The ball was thrown late. Sampson had the chance for the pick.
Plummer goes back to take the Illicik punt at his own 20-yard line. And Plummer returns it to the 40, where he's tackled by Antoine Worthman. 60-yard Lions. It's 1st and 10, Winnipeg. The Blue Bombers are at their own 40-yard line. The give is to Richardson. Richardson finds a hole. And Richardson gets inside the Toronto 50-yard line. Tackled there by Dave Van Bellingham, but not before he ran for 21.
One of the best things Richardson does is that he goes where there's an opening. He doesn't necessarily go where there's a hole. That's supposed to go here. He cuts it back here. So what you see Richardson doing, he's just running to daylight. Who used to say that, man?
Everybody says that. That's where you got to run. Exactly. He's trying to follow that guard, pulling for David Black.
No,
Richardson again.
And the answer was Vince Lombardi. But everybody says it now.
Richardson picked up about 3 yards. He made his debut against the Hamilton Ticats, as I mentioned, and ran for 197 yards in his very first game.
He had a good statistic, Don, about his fumbles. In university, he only had 3 fumbles out of 368 carries.
And since joining the Blue Bombers this year, he has fumbled 9 times with 108 carries. The pass intended for Thompson way over his head. So the Bombers send out their punting unit on 3rd and 8.
Well, Danny McManus read the blitz. He just didn't read where his receiver was going to be.
Bob Cameron and Hank Illicik have shared punting honors in the CFL for the last 6 years. Each has won the title 3 times.
Probably nobody better than this guy when you talk about wind.
Dennis Meyer said he handles it better than anybody he's seen. The Rocket had some problems handling the 3rd down punt, but he got it back. Plummer was there to make sure he went no further. There's also a penalty flag on the play. Scott?
Well, Don, at the start of the telecast today, we pointed out that almost anything can happen in the East Division with only 3 weeks to go. Current standings are exactly that, current. They're likely to change. In the midst of all the possibilities, here's one to consider. A 4-way tie for first. Hamilton would have to lose today and its last 2. Toronto would have to win today and its last 2. Ottawa would have to beat Hamilton today, lose to Toronto, and beat Winnipeg. Are you following this? Winnipeg would have to lose this one, beat BC, and lose to Ottawa. They'd all be 9-9 then. And I don't know, Don, how about a referendum to decide who gets first?
Not if it takes as long as the current referendum to decide an issue.
Just as confusing.
Stadium with 6:50 remaining in the opening quarter. The Argos 1st and 10 from their 30-yard line. The no yards penalty against Winnipeg. Foggy finds the Rocket on the sidelines, and he has a 1st down, taking the ball up to the 52-yard line.
Well, I guess that would be termed an intermediate pass. What do you think, Dan? That wasn't 80 yards. It was only about 20.
Well, I think at this time, this is the kind of routes that Foggy has to throw right now. Working in with DK and Rocket, working on the same side. He goes out, he runs about a 15-yard out, breaks in there, but the big thing was Foggy moved the pocket from his right to his left, was able to buy a little extra time, stand out there, throw the ball without pressure, without somebody in his face.
The pinball tries to cut inside, and he'll get a gain of about 5 yards. Winnipeg's strategy is to play a pressure defense. You never know who they're coming with. They blitz the linebackers a lot.
Well, here's Booker trying to come in. One of the crazy things that happens in football sometimes just happened on this play. You had both guards pulling, and they hit each other. Dan Ferroni and Bob Skimp collided. I don't think we had a picture of it there, but they're both pulling in opposite directions. Somebody's wrong.
Just taking a look in the Toronto huddle there, the pinball is really limping bad. He's taking a knee going down.
He gets the ball, and on 2nd and 3, it appears as though he is stopped about a yard short by Stan Mikolas. Pinball is at least standing over at the Argo bench, and Kevin Duguay is going to further examine that left leg. Hank Alisic stands at his own 45-yard line for this 3rd down punt. Smith is going to let it sail through the end zone for a single point. So with 5:04 remaining in the open.
The heart of the Argo offense, Mike Pinball Clemens will return to the game. He twisted his ankle underneath the pile, aggravation really of an injury he suffered a couple of weeks ago, but they've retaped him, and he's going back in, Don.
Well, the pinball carried the Argo offensive load in the 2 August meetings, catching 17 passes for 58 yards, and he added another 76, running the ball 13 times. So he is a key to the Argo success. McManus steps up, looks downfield, intended for a pillow, and he makes the catch. Dave Van Bellingham thought he might be able to get there in time to intercept or at least knock it away, but he couldn't reach through in front of Pillow.
McManus does a good job. They felt that he would not do a lot of what they call red and blue, which is turn back blocking, but they will do counter motion and play action pass. As you can see, he'll fake the inside counter, keep the ball, come out, and then the receivers downfield are working. He does a good job of keeping his composure, and then he's able to find Pillow open up over the middle in that zone.
Warren Hudson will pick up about 5 yards, maybe even 6, with 4:10 remaining in the opening quarter.
Well, this is the value of having a good running game. You can take a situation where you're against the wind. You got Danny McManus on play action passing the last time. On this time, he's running with the football, and they're gaining yards against the wind. That's really a key to this game.
Winnipeg has converted one of the 2 second down attempts they have had. McManus on 2nd and 4 throws it up, intended for Thompson. It's incomplete, so Winnipeg will be forced to send out the punting unit again, and that time the Argos got some pressure on McManus. Dennis Meyer, the rookie head coach of the Toronto Argonauts, he was talking about last week's 10-4 win over Ottawa. He said, in that game, our execution was an execution, like the guillotine.
I said, what do you think of execution? He said, I think they should.
The Rocket waits for the ball. And good downfield coverage by the Bombers, led by Steve Grant, but there is a late penalty kicked by Bob Cameron. Bud Steen is the referee this afternoon. 3:26 remaining in the opening quarter.
Well, Don, in Hamilton last night, 4 were formally inducted into the CFL's Hall of Fame. Don Southern had a distinguished career as a defensive back in Hamilton and Ottawa in the 60s. A big enough occasion for Suds that Calgary's defensive coordinator missed the Stamps win over Edmonton yesterday to be there. Ellison Kelly, a great lineman with Hamilton and Toronto, joined him there, and so were Ken Charlton, a running back with Ottawa and Saskatchewan, and Ralph Cooper, a former vice president of the CFL, inducted into the Hall of Fame last night, all in Hamilton.
Yes, and we congratulate the 4 gentlemen inducted into the Hall of Fame. A piling on penalty against Winnipeg in covering the punt. There's another penalty flag as the pass was intended for the Rocket.
Darrell K. Smith looks like he's shaken up, and that could be part of this penalty.
I think the one part is when he came by, he was the slot from the backside, coming back across. James West just leveled him.
Illegal contact, eligible receiver, Winnipeg number 58. First down.
And it was James West who was called for the illegal contact.
Well, that's part of the dominance of a middle linebacker like James West. Once you get in that situation, you do not want anybody crossing that route in front of you. And if they do, they have to know that they're going to pay the price. And he's going to let DK know, if you come in there again, I'm going to hit you in the mouth, and I'm going to keep doing it through the course of this game.
A demilitarized zone.
James West back in the lineup after missing the last 2 games with an injury. Foggy fakes the pitch, then throws to the sidelines. He was simply throwing that one away because he was being pressured by Alfred Payton.
Alfred Payton has been, since being in the lineup, he has been a prime force for that rush pressure. And you know what Urban Bowman said? We have got to get in the quarterback's face. How about this, Urban?
But Urban also said that Payton hasn't gone all out every play, every game, the way he would like.
Well, the last 2 games, I think he's gone almost every play all out.
He provides the Bombers with one of the best rushes they've had since Tyrone Jones was traded. DK Smith can't hang on to the pass, and Greg Battle is over there defending and goes out of bounds with him, and Battle may be hurt. Battle has played with a variety of hurts this year. Urban Bowman said, without question, he has been the club's best defensive player when he's in the lineup.
Well, Paul Randolph right in the face of Ricky Foggy, and then guess what happens to DK Smith? There's somebody right in his face, Dan.
This is what shows the great versatility and what a great athlete that Battle is, from a point of view where a lot of the other teams are having to take a defensive back and use them as that outside linebacker. Greg Battle has such tremendous speed. He was there one-on-one with DK.
Penalty flag as Rod Hill made contact with Hank Alisic. As Hill was going after the block, the punt is fielded by Smith, but the penalty flag back at the line of scrimmage, and this will undoubtedly keep the Argo offense on the field.
Contact. Winnipeg number 10. First down.
Well, he called contact, not roughing the kicker, so it could have been worse.
2:04 is the time remaining. Rod Hill has that ability to judge the block point when he comes in. He has had tremendous success. There are others who come through and the ball seems to go either under them or through their arms.
Yeah, you can go from point A to point B, but Rod Hill has that competitive speed. You can't time that, and he really gets in there on the kicks.
1st and 10, Toronto. The ball is at the midfield stripe. 1:53 remaining in the opening quarter. The toss to the Rocket. Boy, he drew a crowd on that one, didn't he?
I think they were going to make a wish there. It looked like they all grabbed a piece of him, Dan.
You're not going to go anywhere like that, even with the speed of a rocket. The fact is you're trying to get the ball outside, but you're going right into the teeth of what this Winnipeg defense stands for, team speed. And they have tremendous speed, as they showed it right there. Their pursuit angles, their discipline was right there to shut it down to no gain.
But wait a minute, Dan. If that's the teeth of the defense, if you can't run on them and you can't pass on them, what can you do?
You can't score on them. That's all I know.
A loss of 1 actually on the play. It's 2nd and 11. The pass intended for the Rocket. He was being covered by Smith. And once again, the Argos will be forced to kick it away.
Well, you know what they say, you can do it to a pro once, but you can't fool me twice. And Donald Smith said, wait a minute, isn't that the same play you tried to run on me the first time you got the ball? Good play, Donald Smith.
And the first time they threw that pass to the Rocket, he picked up a gain of 23, but that time Donald Smith knocked it away. Alisic hits it off the side of his foot, but the ball will bounce towards the Winnipeg goal line. It's taken there by Plummer, and Plummer is down immediately at the 13. 51 seconds remaining in the opening quarter after that 49. Congratulations to Wally Buono and the Stampeders for winning first place in the West.
It's a fine organization, Calgary. Wally Buono, Roy Shivers, his personnel director, got a good coaching staff and a good football team.
Richardson gets away from Braswell, and Richardson runs it out to the 40-yard line.
Well,
You know, even though he missed the first 7 games of the season, Richardson still has a shot at becoming a 1,000-yard rusher. There's also a penalty flag on the play.
And it's a really, they call it as I think I saw it, Nick Benjamin came off the sideline and was pushing Ben Billingham.
Objectionable conduct, Winnipeg number 68.
And that's exactly what they call it. Ben Billingham came over there from the Toronto defense. Nick Benjamin came off the sideline, gives him a little shove in the face, talking to him.
Oh, that wasn't a shove, Dan. That was just a tap on the shoulder.
That was a little touch, but he's still, the fact is, it's not a point. That's right. It wasn't a shove, but he's got no business coming on the field whatsoever. Stand over there. If you want a cheerleader, still cheerlead on the sideline. It just cost yourself.
Now, wait a minute, Dan. That guy's 285 pounds. You're telling him he can't even.
Yeah, but I'm way up here in the booth. That's why I can tell him that.
All right, Nick. Dan Kepley said if you step one more foot on that field, you're in trouble.
That's it. By the time he gets up here, I'm on a plane.
But I agree with you. On the sidelines, he's got no business taunting the opposition the way he did, and it cost him and cost his team. Richardson again. Penalty flag in the play. Richardson bounces off tackles and runs to the 50-yard line, but it's going to be called back by holding.
That's a tough call, but what they have to realize is that when you circle outside the body, you're going to get called for holding.
Winnipeg 64. First down repeated.
Bob Molly is called for holding, so the ball goes back to the 20-yard line, and it's now 1st and 20. Well, Bob Molly knows a little about holding from his wrestling days, where he won a silver medal at the Olympic Games in Los Angeles.
They could have called it on any one of these people, but what you're not allowed to do is reach outside the body, and Miles Gurrell came over. He's outside the body. Molly's outside the body. You got to stay inside when you're pumping those hands.
This should be the final play of the opening quarter. It's Richardson again, and this time the 6 yards will be Bombers. Jeff Braswell trying to duplicate his performance of a week ago when he was named CFL Defensive Player of the Week in the Argos 10-4 win over the Ottawa Rough Riders. Pass for Pillow is intercepted by Ed Berry. The second time this afternoon that Danny McManus has been picked off.
Well, the turnovers seem to be plaguing the wrong team. In the past, we've seen the Argos suffer from these kinds of problems, but this is a throwback, and he completely breaks contain. You see, Mike Campbell got caught to the inside. But that's a great play by Ed Berry. He just reached up, got the ball out of the sky.
Ed Berry ranks 2nd in Argo history to teammate Reggie Pleasant in interception return yards. Kevin Smelly into the ball game, replacing Nastasiuk. The 3rd turnover by Winnipeg. It was over the head of the Rockets. Donald Smith was closest to it. Statistically, the Bombers have the edge thanks to the running of Mike Richardson. He has 74 yards already. But the Argos lead by a score of 1-0. 3 turnovers actually in the ball game, 2 interceptions and a fumble.
Yeah, and the Crefo fumble, so that's a key to this ball game. And only having 1 point with the win in that whole quarter, that's not good for the Argos.
2nd and 10 Toronto from the Winnipeg 50-yard line. Incomplete, intended for Smith. He was being covered by Bobby Evans.
There's number 58 again, Dan. Wild West.
Checking the out-of-town scoreboard in the 3rd quarter. Ottawa leading Hamilton 25-2. Damon Allen hurt early in the ball game. Don McPherson took over. He has now been replaced by Todd Dillon. And the BC Lions and Saskatchewan Roughriders are putting points on the board. Mike Saunders on a 91-yard pass and run play has moved the Riders to within 2 points of the BC Lions. Plummer and Pierce are back for the 3rd down punt by Illicik. The ball bounces back towards the line of scrimmage. Pierce picks it up. There's a penalty flag on the play. And I think there were about 3 Argos trapped within that 5-yard area.
Urban Bowman really likes to get that no yards penalty, and they work on it. You see all those linemen cupped around the ball?
Urban said yesterday that's our best punt return.
That sets up their play, the playground play.
No yards. Toronto 73. Bounce back penalty, 5 yards. First down.
But it does come down to the point is if you're on the coverage team, particularly on Toronto, and you know that you're kicking the ball into this kind of wind, as soon as you clear the guy that's trying to block you at the line of scrimmage, you have to be able to pick that ball up in the air, or else you're going to be trying to sprint down there 30 or 40 yards, and you're going to be on top of that ball before you know it.
Dennis Meyer was saying that if the Argos are going to make the playoffs this year, there's not much doubt they have to win away from the Sky Dome. They have not had any success so far this year. Next week, they have to travel to Lansdowne Park in Ottawa.
Well, it absolutely amazes me that a team can be in the hunt for a playoff position and had never won on the road this year. It just doesn't seem that that can be feasibly possible, but it's working here.
And one of the things Meyer wants to do is to stop Richardson. They did a good job on that play. Probably the first time they've really stopped him for not much of a game.
2nd and 8. Penalty flags as there was movement at the line of scrimmage. Carl Brazeley was covering Gerald Alphen, and Brazeley was closer to the ball than was Alphen.
And the key to that is they want to stop that running game so they don't give them those 2nd down and 3, 2nd and 5s where they can use the play action passing.
Offside, Toronto 99. 2nd down repeat.
Mike Campbell was offside, so it's 2nd and 2 for the Bombers.
Now sometimes those guys will draw you offsides with just a subtle movement of their arm. But Mike is so big, he's not subtle. When he moves, they draw him up, they get the call. That's a penalty.
Pillow comes wide to the right. Alphen in motion across the formation. McManus for Crefo. He's got a first down at the 47-yard line. Stopped there by Van Bellingham. And that time, Rob Crefo made sure he covered the football.
3 things that are really taking place right now with the Winnipeg offense is the fact that, one, they're able to run the ball, so that's keeping that Toronto defense at bay a bit. And again, now that offensive line is giving McManus enough time to throw the ball, and then when the Toronto defense is playing that zone coverage, Crefo, Pillow, and the rest of them are working in behind it and finding the open spots.
Richardson cuts back inside, and he'll be close to another first down. What a ball game Richardson is having. 3 times this year he has run for over 100 yards. Twice he was very close to 200. He had a 197-yard game, a 193-yard game.
Well, you get big guys like Miles Gurrell pulling out in front of the play. Offensive linemen have no statistics, Don. All you can do is talk about how much they weigh. And they got Miles Gurrell down here at 290 pounds.
I think the scales were broken that day. Warren Hudson looks for the first down, 2nd and 1, and he gets it.
Chris Walby is listed at 305.
They were broken that day, too.
Bob Molly, 270.
And you think I'm going to get in trouble with Nick Benjamin for saying a few things? You better be on the same plane I am with.
Why do you think they call him Bluto?
Well, I think it's kind when a player admits he's 300 pounds. I would venture to say that Gurrell is 300 pounds. 290 sounds better, though, huh?
Winnipeg, 1st and 10. The ball is at the 52-yard line. McManus throws deep. Incomplete. It was intended for Thompson. Reggie Pleasant was back defending against him.
I think Reggie Pleasant had some kind of a tip. It must have been the way Thompson released off the ball, because he stayed right with him, turned instantly when the ball was there. That's a good play by Reggie Pleasant.
Thompson has made a major contribution to the Bombers this year. He has had 6 games in which he has caught passes for over 100 yards. The Argos have only had 2 games this year in which a player has caught passes for over 100 yards. Eddie Brown was one, Darrell K. Smith the other.
They're doing it the hard way. There's no question. The Argos offense is doing it the hard way.
Thompson wide open. He steps out of bounds. First down at the Toronto 36-yard line.
This is excellent pass protection again, Dan. I think the offensive line of Winnipeg has done a good job against a good defense.
Giving McManus plenty of time to throw, and then McManus is smart enough now. He comes back with the same play twice to the same two guys, and at this time when Thompson tries to turn it up and looks like he's going to go on the streak up and then breaks it to the out, he's got Reggie thinking that he's going to have to turn and run and sprint with him again. Then he breaks off to the out.
Movement at the line of scrimmage as the ball goes to Richardson. The play is whistled dead.
Darryl Milburn jumped off sides. That's the big guy. He's the one that outruns defensive backs, but...
Offside, 78 Toronto. First down repeated.
Milburn today celebrating his 24th birthday in his CFL debut, and he was hoping that he would celebrate the birthday in a winning way.
Wait till this guy grows up. He's going to be a good one.
It's hard to believe that he's as fast as the Argo coaches have told us he is.
Hey, I watched the race. They had $100 on the race. Now, that's not much, but Milburn won it.
9:38 remaining in the first half. Richardson cuts back inside, and he has another first down to the 20-yard line.
Richardson said something last week about he doesn't like to put moves on people, Dan. He said, I don't want to juke somebody and juke somebody. I want to bam, bam, wham. And that's the way he runs. He makes somebody miss. Braswell, Milburn.
He was as baffled as anybody by all the fumbles he has had. He said it's probably a lack of concentration.
Plus, he's playing against the big guys.
Richardson is over 100 yards. What a first half running display by Mike Richardson.
Now, give those linemen all kinds of credit because they're blowing people off the ball. They're doing a great job, and you can see what Richardson's doing. He's just running to daylight. He's following his blockers perfectly.
On August 27th, 197 yards against Hamilton. Then he had 193 yards against Calgary, 109 yards against Hamilton last week. And although he missed the first 7 games of the year, he could be a 1,000-yard rusher this season.
One of the very few.
Richardson again, penalty flag in the play. He tried to make the cut back. There was no room inside.
Offside, Toronto 78.
Again, Milburn offside in the play. And this must be an adjustment, Dan. A player coming into the league for the first time, playing his first game, getting used to all the movement back there, the yard off the line of scrimmage, that sort of thing.
There's a lot of things going on, but just the adrenaline of itself, of being out there playing, wanting to make something happen, and particularly when you get inside the 10, inside the 20-yard line, that red zone that's down there, you really want to be the guy to make the big play, to make the turnover, and feel like you are really contributing to this defense.
Well, Dennis Myers didn't know how good a football player he was, and he wanted to get him in the ball game. They've had Harold Hallman injured.
First and goal, Warren Hudson has the touchdown. And Warren Hudson does that face plant every time he scores. He started that by accident. On the very first touchdown he scored for the Bombers, he fell as he crossed the goal line. He said, I was so embarrassed by it, I decided to make it a regular part of my routine.
And you got to give these guys a lot of credit right here. He blew him out. You got Molly, Gurrell, and Van Conant, and then Hudson just makes the break to the backside. He made it look easy.
Made a good quick cut there. Mike Campbell, I think, came upfield high rather than closing down really sharply, and allowed him to make the cut to come back in, get in for the make.
The keys in that 86-yard touchdown drive by the Bombers was that they were 4 for 4 on second down conversions, and Richardson contributed 32 running yards. Might the Bombers attempt a short kickoff here? Now they're going to try and drive it deep. The Rocket takes it at the 7-yard line. And he's tackled as he gets up to the 38 by Jason Jakovich. Scott?
Well, Don, the unseasonably warm weather in Winnipeg has made for some good news for the Bombers. Of course, it's a bit windy, but still they think they have a crowd of about 30,000 here today. And for any team like the Bombers, in fact, all in the CFL, who are heavily dependent on gate receipts, a crowd of that size is good news. But I'll tell you who the wind is making crazy today. It's the punters on both sides. Both Hank Alisic and Bob Cameron say with the swirling wind, the ball is going just where it wants to. There's no possibility to pin somebody deep or to angle it out of bounds. Don?
And Scott, I think maybe you better send somebody out for an additional can of hairspray. Ricky Foggy is not going to be pleased with those numbers.
Well, I guess the punters and the quarterbacks could say that, well, particularly Ricky has had some problems with the wind, and now he's having some problems into the wind.
Second and 10. Ball at the 39. Foggy has people in his face. As he tried to throw, the ball came loose. Stan Mikowicz jarred it away from Foggy, and the pinball picked it up, and he took a big hit.
What a swarming defense out there, Dan. That must make you get a little anxious to get out and get some pursuit. I know you love to pursue.
Makes your heart pump right now, particularly when you see a guy like James Bass. It is absolutely amazing week in and week out that I watch this guy. He is almost 36 years old, and he is doing it as good as he did the first day that he stepped on the field.
But Ricky Foggy's making too many decisions. He brought that ball down. He should have run with the football. He got to the line of scrimmage and decided he wanted to throw again. That doesn't help.
Like I said, Joe, this has been his forte, is running the ball.
You know, we talked about that with the quarterbacks yesterday, and they both acknowledge they have to be able to run with the football if they're going to be successful.
Now move the Rough Riders ahead of the BC Lions. Winnipeg first and 10. The ball is at the 44-yard line. Warren Hudson, who scored the touchdown, is stopped after a pickup of just a couple of yards. Don Moen playing his 188th consecutive game. What a streak.
Yeah, his streak was in jeopardy. He's got a calf muscle, a thigh muscle that's been bothering him, and he's out there on guts and courage.
Well, I'm sure during those 188 games, there were many times when, under normal circumstances, he probably would not have wanted to be in the lineup, but because that's his job, he was out there. Richardson takes the little swing pass and will be stopped short of a first down by Dave Van Bellingham.
This is the only time Richardson's been stopped for less than about 10 yards, isn't it? Maybe the second time. Takes the little swing pass. Donnie Wilson comes up and does impede his progress.
Well, it's an excellent job because they're playing a zone defense with Toronto, and as Don reads the quick dump off there, he comes up and he's able to make a good one-on-one tackle in the open field for hardly no gain. Stop him, put him in a punting situation.
Bob Cameron fields the low snap, and his kick will bounce over the head of the Rocket and back into the end zone. And the Rocket takes it through the end zone for a single point. A booming punt.
Back live with one of the principals, Hamilton and Ottawa, both with lots at stake late in the season. Last word, Don, Ottawa leading 25-2 in the fourth quarter.
Kevin Smelly taking the ball, and as I mentioned earlier, if that score prevails in the East, the Bombers, with a win today, could move into a first-place tie with the Hamilton Ticats, and the task of the Toronto Argonauts in catching a playoff position would be even more difficult.
And the Argos aren't going to be happy about Kevin Smelly limping off the field. The guy scored 5 touchdowns in the last few ball games, and he's been somewhat of a leader, even though he's not a starter, Dan.
And now it gets both, because you get Michael Clements on the limp, you get Smelly on the limp. They don't have too many other running backs out back over there they can put in.
Flag on the play as Paul Nastasiuk was stopped right in his tracks. Vaughn Booker celebrates, but it might be premature depending on the penalty call.
Illegal procedure. Toronto, no end. Penalty is declined. Third down.
Johnny Meyer told us that what we have to do is be more consistent. He said, we asked him, what's the job of a coach? He said, I think the coach has to make sure we don't have turnovers. The big three. We have to avoid turnovers, penalties, and missed assignments. That was a missed assignment.
Hank Olisic could establish a league record today if he continues coming out as often as he has so far. This is his 8th punt.
I know for a fact I'm starting to feel really old because I can remember the first day when Hank was about 17 years old and walked into the Edmonton Eskimo locker room.
The ball bounces back towards the line of scrimmage. The Bombers had better be careful here because the Argos had an onside man.
Hank Olisic was coming downfield, and the referee has called.
38 for Toronto. Let's listen to referee Bud Steen.
Nope. Major foul. Piling. Toronto, number 21. First down.
Antoine Worthman is called for piling on. That's the second piling on penalty we've had today, both on punts. One against Winnipeg and one against the Argos.
I think the reason you see that so much is that these guys are out there running down the field. They're running into a lot of open space. They get so anxious they don't realize the guy is down.
1st and 10 Winnipeg. The Bombers at the 52. McManus is in trouble, and the man who got to him was Rodney Harding. He and Dave Van Conant do a little pushing and shoving after the sack. Harding has been the dominant defensive player all season for the Argos.
He has played great football, and the reason that play action pass didn't work was that Harding wasn't concerned with the run on this play. They showed pass, the linemen were back on their haunches. Harding played the pass all the way.
One of the reasons Dave Van Conant came in a little late and pushed Harding is that Van Conant is the player that Harding blew past. Draw play with Richardson. He can't break the tackle of Don Moe.
Good play by the old veteran, just standing in there, and when you see that Richardson is in the backfield, all of a sudden they're going to do a play action for any reason and then give him the ball. Don Moen is standing there reading that because that man is there for a reason. They took the handoff. He was there to make the tackle.
Bob Cameron, who led the CFL in punting average in 88, 89, and 90, stands back at his own 32-yard line. High kick. The Rocket fields it. And the Rocket isn't going anywhere as he was downed immediately at the 17-yard line. A 54-yard punt that time by Bob Cameron. I dropped Bob out of 20 yards on the punt that went for a single. I said it was a 64-yarder. Actually, with the 20 yards of the end zone, it traveled 84 yards.
There's nobody better kicking into the wind or with the wind. This guy knows how to play the wind, and I guess it helps to be from Winnipeg.
He gets a lot of practice.
You know what's even more impressive on the play prior to that was the fact that Nick Benjamin was the guy, the long snapper, that was able to get down there and make the tackle on the Rocket.
Don't try to butter up Nick Benjamin.
I gotta make friends with Nick.
He remembers what you said.
Smelly back in the ball game for the Argos. Andrew Murray takes the out pattern, bounces off one tackle, but then Don Smith brings him down.
That's what Ricky Foggy has to do. He's got to be more patient, Dan. When he's going out there, he's got to take that short pass. He's got to run once in a while.
Is there any room in that sign for maybe?
He's got plenty of time to throw the ball. At this time, Von Booker was able to get a block, get his hands up there, but he's able to get the ball out of reach and into Murray's hands. But I think you're right, Joe. The fact is, take your time, be patient, take exactly what that Winnipeg defense is going to give you. Quit trying to force it down the throat, force it deep.
The Argos haven't been able to convert a second down play yet. 2nd and 2. Will they get this one? Smelly will be close. It looks as though he should have a first down. There was a lot of speculation during the week as to whether or not Matt Dunnigan would play today. Urban Bowman said as long as he is not 100% healthy, he won't get in the ball game. And That probably means he won't be playing next week either.
I don't know if Matt Dunning in his career has ever been 100% healthy. He seems to thrive playing on pain.
I hope so. If Matt does it, he will play with pain. If Coach Bowman is going to hold to that 100%, you may not see Matt in there for the rest of the season, because you're right, he will not be 100%. But he doesn't know that, and that's what's the great thing about it, and that's why he's such a competitive nature about him.
Do you think that Bowman is superstitious at all, though? McManus, 2 starts, 2 wins. This is his 3rd start today.
Coaches are not superstitious. They just wear the same shoes for 4 or 5 years straight, the same necktie.
You must have had quite a wardrobe then when you were coaching.
Well, I wore the same shoes. I changed the necktie. I wore my elevator shoes.
You missed it, but I think Dan picked that one up. 2:05 remaining in the half. The Rockets running the pass pattern against veteran Rod Hill.
You see the little throw by that he's using on Hill? That's what Rod is having a problem with, just breaking up to the ball because of that Achilles problem. Played it pretty well, though.
It's one of those kind of things, if you think that he's injured, you think that you can take advantage of him, all of a sudden he's going to come up and the snake's going to bite you, and he'll turn one and pick it off and take it back for 6.
Foggy tried to sidearm it to the sideline, and Masadi attempted to come back to it. But Foggy was going down as he threw that ball, and we may get to see Mike Kerrigan in the second half.
Well, Mike Kerrigan will help, but they better block some of those guys like Paul Randolph coming in if they want a quarterback to be productive. But I wouldn't be surprised, because Dennis Meyer told us yesterday he's got a lot of confidence in Mike Kerrigan. However, the pass protection's got to be better. They got to move the pocket a little bit. They can't throw from that drop back position all the time.
Plummer and Smith are back for Hank Olisic's 3rd down punt. His best year was 1986, when he averaged 48.5 yards per kick. Winnipeg likes to send Rod Hill up the middle. Short kick taken by Smith at the 50. And Smith gets it back to the Toronto 50-yard line. A 3rd.
Doing too well either.
He's partied a lot.
Well, I think half of this crowd may have just come out of Portage and Maine from last night and just walked in and bought tickets.
They made noise all night.
Richardson caught by Campbell. What a fine defensive play by Mike Campbell.
Mike Campbell just followed his lineman pulling. When he got the big guy pulling out there, Chris Walby, he just came right down with him.
After the success he had last year, Mike Campbell is discovering teams are paying a little more attention to him this year.
You bet, Don. He's getting a lot more respect. Last year he came out of nowhere, had a bunch of sacks. This year he's had to work for them, but he's done pretty well. 5 sacks so far this year from Slippery Rock, Mike Campbell.
Back to the midfield stripe. It's 2nd and 15. Takes it out of bounds for a 1st down in front of Reggie Pleasant.
Once again, good job up front of pass protection and a great pass route.
Urban Bowman was very high on Thompson at training camp. He said one of the keys to any success he might enjoy this year will be his work ethic. 28-3 now. The Ottawa Rough Riders leading Hamilton in the 4th quarter. 5 minutes remaining in the game. Richardson trying to cut back inside. Penalty flag in the play. Richardson with another big gain and another Winnipeg 1st down. But it's holding Winnipeg. That's 2 fine runs Richardson has had wiped out by holding calls.
Holding or not, that's a great cutback.
Holding, Winnipeg number 66, 1st down repeated.
Now, Miles Garrell wouldn't hold anybody, would he?
Well, Miles Garrell right here, if you can watch him, and then the guard pulls, what a great cutback. But take a look at the top of your screen, and you see this guy got bear hugged. Then he got pushed away. Then he got pushed again.
1:15 remaining in the 1st half. 1st and 20 Winnipeg. The ball is back at the 49-yard line. McManus throwing deep for Thompson. He can't catch up with it. He got in behind the defender.
That's what Danny McManus does best. He reads the defenses. He knows how to take a read. He's from Florida State. They do a lot of passing down there, Dan. And what McManus does, he reads the defense even before the ball's snapped. So he knows where he's going to go, and he delivered that football. Thompson had to reroute himself a little bit, but that was a great read.
It almost looked as though the wind may have affected the flight of the ball.
I think it did. I think it took the ball a little further than McManus wanted it. Urban Bowman thinks the same thing.
Thompson, it appeared, almost had to adjust his route just at the tail end of his run.
Watch him come back to the intermediate route here. There.
Gerald Alfin down to the 5. Tackled by Carl Braisley.
And one thing you don't want to do to McManus is to take that free safety out of the middle, because he loves to get that ball to Alfin, and that was a great play. Well executed. He saw his safety, Dave Van Bellingham, come out. He just picked it back up, used the throwback. He caught him in man-to-man coverage. No free safety.
This is a guy that you haven't heard very much out through the course of the game or this year, but is a tremendous athlete. Gerald Alfin, big speed, big size, catches the ball extremely well, and his work ethics are extremely good for the team. He is absolutely incredible when he gets a chance to perform.
Richardson trying to cut back, and he stopped after a pickup of about 1. Alfin with a 44-yard gain. He was saying that he didn't anticipate that the transition back to the Canadian game would be as difficult as he found it through the first few games.
I think it's the speed. He's not used to having speed, and you see the pursuit coming over here to get him. Good job by Campbell making the play cut back, but the pursuit, that speed of those defenders is what Richardson said was the hardest thing to get used to.
2nd and goal from the 4. Richardson again. Braswell made the tackle. He stopped right at the goal line with 23 seconds remaining.
The whole Winnipeg bench is saying, go, go. They're up there.
That's a good job by Braswell, Van Bellingham, and they just denied him. They got his knees down before that ball went across the goal line.
Well, the Bombers on 3rd down gambles have the best percentage in the league, and this is a big 3rd down gamble on what might very well be the final play of the opening half. Hudson, he didn't get there. Warren Hudson was stopped at the goal line.
Oh, that's a big play. You've got to give some credit to Milbourne and Harding.
Now there's a penalty flag on the play. 6 seconds show on the clock.
Yeah, Miles Gurrell got his helmet ripped off. Rodney Harding looks like he was in on it.
Goal area from the 4.
Gurrell just knocked Wilson back into Harding. Look at Harding get doubled back over. And he's in there with no helmet on, and Wilson's really upset with him. Now, Rodney Harding is not very happy about that. That was extra late, and he was in the pileup. There was just a landslide of men. There was a lot of humanity there, and he got bent back over when Wilson got knocked into him.
Focusing on Miles Gurrell, Rodney Harding in the second inning as he headed off to the dressing room. 4 Winnipeg turnovers. And we should have 2 plays before the half ends as Winnipeg leading Toronto 8-1. Stay tuned for Live at the Half. 66 net yards for Winnipeg thus far, just 47 yards for Toronto. Ricky Foggy this afternoon has completed just 2 of 14 pass attempts for 31 yards. But 4 turnovers have proven to be the Bombers' downfall. The biggest may have been the failure to cross the goal line with just 6 seconds remaining when the Bombers gambled on 3rd and 1. Mike Kerrigan is warming up. We suggested there might be a quarterbacking change. Dennis Meyer may have made that decision at halftime.
Dennis Meyer said he's got full confidence in Mike Kerrigan and John Congemi. He feels that Kerrigan was with him a little bit longer when he was the head coach, because Congemi was not in the lineup those 4 ball games so far.
One big thing there, that the fact that you may have Mike Kerrigan in as opposed to Ricky Foggy, but Ricky Foggy being in was his running ability, but we didn't see him run the ball, and he hasn't been running the ball. So if he's having trouble completing passes, get a guy like Kerrigan in if that's not going to be one of your weapons.
The ball bounces to Thompson. And Thompson is hauled down on the sidelines by Chris Munford. He got a piece of the jersey of Larry Thompson and limited his return to 17 yards. Hank Olisic came upfield and attempted to make the tackle, and it looks as though Olisic was hurt. He leads the CFL with a 44.9-yard average. The handoff to Richardson, and Richardson bounces it to the outside. And then Rodney Harding comes over to make the tackle. So obviously Rodney Harding is not as shaken up as we thought when we saw him go down late in the first half. With the win by Ottawa today, they temporarily at least move into a tie with Winnipeg for second spot. And the task for the Argos becomes more difficult now because they trail both Ottawa and Winnipeg by 4. So winning this game becomes even more important for Toronto. Second and 6. Warren Hudson will be close to a first down. Don Moen made the tackle. Hank Olisic holds 18 Argonaut records, including most yards in club history on kickoffs.
And as you said, Don, he is critical to the Argos, particularly in a tight ball game like this in windy conditions.
Get this guy out of here. Hey,
he's averaging 46 yards a kick. They need him in that lineup. Chomik will do the punting, but he's not nearly the punter that Hank Olisic is.
The measurement reveals Winnipeg has a first down. Winnipeg has had success in converting those second down plays. The one they failed to convert, though, may prove to be very costly in the long run. That was when they were down in scoring range late in the first half. McManus to Alphen for another Winnipeg first down at the 54-yard line. He is tackled by Brazeley.
Very impressed with McManus's call. This time he comes with the counter. He's going to fake the counter. Back, you get Big Wallaby pulling in front of him. He's going to turn around, throw the out pattern. He's got plenty of time. When he throws the counter right there, it freezes those linebackers. It freezes that defensive line. Gives them just enough time to get off the line, be able to get downfield, and create some openings so they can complete the pass.
The toss to Richardson. Good job of stopping Richardson. 3 Argos came over, including Rodney Harding, and there's a penalty flag downfield.
Face mask, it looks like.
Major foul, face mask, Toronto 99. First down.
Costly penalty perhaps against Mike Campbell. A face mask foul improves Winnipeg's field position, taking the ball to the 38.
Well, they actually played the toss pretty well. That's a sweep, and Richardson tried to make the cutback. Rodney Harding came way over from his defensive tackle position, but inadvertent face mask.
First and 10 Winnipeg. The fake toss. McManus throws to Pillow. Penalty flag again as Pillow is stopped in his tracks by Don Wilson.
Thinking the counter toss coming back, we may get offensive pass interference, and we just see it right at the end.
Little basketball pick.
Well, it's a little bit of a basketball pick, exactly. They fake the toss to the weak side, come back to the hitch on the front side. They got Crefo, the big slot, trying to come downfield, and he throws a block, and as he throws the block,
Offensive forward pass interference, Winnipeg number 86. First down repeated.
But they got Alphen and Crefo. They're both releasing inside, just like the run and shoot thing, and they try to get the block and try to make that hitch screen take effect.
The ball comes back to the Toronto 48-yard line. It's first and 20 Winnipeg. McManus throws deep, intended for Crefo, incomplete. Crefo and Thompson were both in the same area. That shouldn't happen, should it?
Something's wrong. There was 2 people on a blitz checkoff. In other words, the blitz was coming by the Argos. 2 receivers went to the same area, brought 2 defenders. So that's the bad news. Good pressure by Braswell. McManus is aware that Braswell's coming in, but Richardson knocked him down. Wham! He knocked Big Jeff.
Actually, That's 6 points going in right there had not Thompson touched the ball because Grifo had the reception.
Yeah, that's a defender. Another receiver became the defender.
2nd and 20 over the middle. Alphen takes it down to the 12. Tackled there by Braisley.
Well, there's a mirror of the same play, only they kept Grifo out of the lineup. Blitz again. You can't go twice. You go to the well too many times, you're going to be in trouble, and that's exactly what happened. Braisley's one-on-one.
Same thing that you said earlier, Joe, that point. He fronts out to the right side. Van Bellingham, the safety, is out of there. Alphen reads it perfectly. He comes in. He's able to get inside. Carl Braisley reads the seam route. McManus has time to throw the ball. Big completion.
Well, that's something receivers have to do, communicate the information that blitz is coming to the quarterback.
And McManus is good at reading the blitz.
Richardson, the ball carrier. He scores! Penalty flag on the play.
That'll be coming back out of there. It's holding against Winnipeg.
Richardson's going to be upset with those big linemen. They keep getting called for holding, and after he makes some good runs.
He's had about 50 yards in runs called back this afternoon.
He strung this thing
Holding,
out.
Winnipeg number 51, first down repeated.
David Black guilty of holding.
Did a great job of stringing it out. He strung it out, strung it out, strung it out, and then boom, he takes it back upfield and puts a good move.
David Black just to the right of your screen there, blocking on Ken Benson, the outside linebacker, gets his hands on some cloth. Benson still almost makes the tackle. Richardson's able to cut it up inside.
From the 22, Grifo in the end zone. He can't hang on. Van Bellingham, the safety, was defending against him.
Urban Bowman told us that that's the thing he likes to do best, is on the blitzes when they're one-on-one, man-to-man coverage. The tree, Grifo, is the guy that McManus can find. That was a good pass, but Dave Van Bellingham, he had some other ideas.
Van Bellingham, a native of Kenora, Ontario, has friends and family in attendance at this afternoon's game, and they'll be pleased with that effort by the Toronto safety.
Big play.
Second and 20. Dumped off to Warren Hudson. And Hudson fights his way to the 10-yard line. Caught by Don Moan.
Well, they elected to go to a zone coverage that time, and that's what Bowman told us they would like to do, is to get those things dumped off to either Richardson or Hudson. Hudson made the most of it, but he couldn't get enough.
10:15 remaining in the third quarter. 8-1 Winnipeg, and Troy Westwood will attempt to increase the advantage with a field goal try of 17 yards.
And the Argos haven't been on the field yet this half, offensively.
The Westwood kick is up, and it's good. Foggy remains at quarterback for Toronto. He only completed 2 passes in the first half. One of them 23 yards to the Rocket. As a matter of fact, 6 of his passes in the first half were aimed in the Rocket's direction. He clicked just once. Toronto punted 9 times in the first half. The pinball carries the ball across the 40, stopped at the 41.
Good job by Chris Schultz. He came back on Booker.
And now Ricky Foggy is hurt. Placing the pinball. But you know he's going to try and stay in there if at all possible.
Well, he'll get it taped up even tighter and then come back in. He made a great run on that last play. He really hit the line of scrimmage, and Chris Schultz opened things up for him.
The Rocket goes wide right, Masadi to the left on 2nd and 4. Nastasiuk was the man that Foggy was looking for, but under pressure from Vaughn Booker, the pass falls short.
And that's Dave Ritchie's find from the University of Cincinnati. Dave Ritchie coached him in university. Vaughn Booker. The irony is Dave Ritchie's team is fighting for a playoff spot. Ottawa. So's Winnipeg.
Scott?
Well, Don, there was great concern for Hank Olisic as he lay on the turf, and the injury, it turns out, is a hip pointer. He's got an ice pack on his kicking side. They haven't altogether ruled him out of this game, say he may come back if the pain subsides. Lance Chomik, though, if a punt's required in the next while, will have to be the one to do it. He doesn't like punting at the best of times, and I'm not sure he'll like it in this wind today. Don?
Rod Hill fields the ball on a short Chomik punt, and there are a couple of players trapped inside the 5-yard area. A 29-yard punt, only 4 on the return, but Winnipeg's Toronto's total in time of possession.
Defensively, they've been playing a good ball game.
Rod Hill fielded the Lance Chomik punt, and with the no yards penalty, it's 1st and 10. Winnipeg from the midfield stripe. Richardson dodges one would-be tackler and manages to pick up about 6 yards out of what perhaps should have been a nothing play.
Richardson showing great vision there. Jeff Braswell coming out of the middle linebacker spot. And again, this is a situation of getting so aggressive that you over-pursue and you allow that cutback lane. And that's exactly what Richardson took and made a few yards out of the play that looked like nothing.
And what Richardson does is he sets up all of that play-action passing that Danny McManus likes to use so much.
The statistics would indicate that Winnipeg should be totally dominating. Incomplete, intended for Creefo. That was well beyond his reach, but there's a penalty flag downfield.
Looks like Ed Berry's in trouble here on a illegal use of hands.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver, Toronto number 13. First down.
It was Ed Berry on Frank Pillow to keep the Winnipeg drive alive. This is one of 3 games today in the CFL. Saskatchewan coming from behind. The game just over. Ridgeway with a late field goal after an Elgard touchdown, 41-22. Saskatchewan wins 31-9. Ottawa beats Hamilton to temporarily move into a tie for 2nd place in the East with Winnipeg. Hitch screen to Larry Thompson, read well by Carl Brazeley.
Give Carl Brazeley a lot of credit on that. When he read the play, warded off the blockers, and he got up to make the tackle, and he put him in a leg hold trap, Dan. He's not going to let him get away.
The old leg hold trap act again. But as Thompson comes in, he just runs the hitch and takes a step up and comes back off. But Brazeley just reacts extremely well to that play, closes in, and is able to make the tackle, avoids the block, gets out of the way, gets his face right up in there.
You like that play?
Do I like that play?
Yeah. I hate that play. Slip screen.
Yeah, I like the play. I think it worked, but there's so many things that has to happen to make that play successful.
Thompson on the sidelines, and it looked as though he had jumped a little too early. He bobbled the ball, but was still able to haul it down in front of Reggie Pleasant.
Well, it was a good job by McManus because Darryl Milburn was right on top of him, and he hung in there. And watch Thompson. He bobbled it a little bit, concentrated on it. But watch McManus now. He takes a hit from Milburn.
And he's going to take a good hit because that's the first time Milburn's had a chance to get around McManus all day long.
1st and 10, Winnipeg. The ball is at the 27-yard line. McManus throws to Creefo on the sidelines, and Creefo is forced out of bounds by Ed Berry after a gain of about 7 or maybe 8 yards.
It's getting to the point. It's not pretty, but it is very effective what that Winnipeg offense is doing.
Yeah, they're not trying to get... They went for broke in the first drive, and they got a lot of passes broken up. They seem to be content to have some patience now.
David Black working against Rodney Harding.
David has his hands full, and he certainly just stood in there and was able to make a good block.
Fake to Richardson. McManus is going to run for the 1st down. He steps out of bounds. Excellent fake to Richardson.
That was such a good fake, Don. Maybe it wasn't intentional.
I'm wondering about that.
He might have missed a handoff. That was too good a fake. He might have thought Richardson moved out. But hey, he showed a little bit of running ability here. This 14's running better than the other 14. Toronto's 14 hasn't run today.
Well, exactly. I think he just missed the handoff. Richardson came, and when he took the weave out and he came out of the veer, he just veered out a little too long that the handoff would have been on the hip, He just did a smart thing, closed it down, and made the best out of something that looked terrible.
Richardson on first down from the 10 picks up about 2. So the Argos have certainly adjusted to the powerful running of Richardson in the first half.
Yeah, the Argos have done a good job of canceling the gaps. They've been coming right up, and one of the things that they did was they canceled that down gap, and Miles Gurrell wasn't happy, so he came over. It looked like he was going to get into another altercation, would you say? When you're that big, I guess you could call it anything you want. At least he kept his helmet on this time.
5:15 remaining in the third quarter. From the 10, here comes the blitz. The pass knocked away, intended for Crefo, and Ed Berry, had he been able to hold that football, may have gone all the way.
That would have been a long run. That would have been about 113 yards. And Ed Berry, he saw a touchdown.
Bend but don't break has been the philosophy of the Argos this afternoon. They have proven to be tough down around their goal area.
Don Wilson comes from the weak side halfback blitz, and then Ed Berry and Van Bellingham play inside out on the back 2 receivers. And Ed Berry stood there, came underneath. It was a good play, as he said.
Safe to say that Don Moen will be back in the game, but he must go out for at least 3 plays. The native of Swift Current, Saskatchewan, hasn't missed a game in a decade of Argonaut service. Troy Westwood will attempt to make it a 14-1 game. A field goal try of 17 yards, the same distance as his previous kick. This one is also good. Dave Van Bellingham, standing underneath the uprights, was yelling at the official saying it went wide, but referee Bud Steen indicated that the 3-point try has been totally shut down today.
But on the other side, he's got to be fairly happy about the way the defense has played.
Foggy is being pursued by Mike Gray. One of the few times today that Foggy has run the football, and he steps out of bounds at the 40 with a gain of 5 yards. Only once this year have the Argos had a 100-yard rushing game, and that was when Foggy ran for better than 100 yards against Hamilton.
It just, maybe that's why I was a linebacker on the defense, but it does not make sense to me why a team has a quarterback with that kind of ability and you don't use it, because that kind of ability, that scrambling, that running, can buy you time, and it puts so much pressure on the defense that you have to be successful most of the time, and I believe you could be.
As a linebacker, you like to know where that quarterback was.
I always did. He was in front of me because I was chasing him most of the time.
Intended for Masadi, incomplete. Rod Hill moved up to defend against him, and Paul Randolph had dropped back from the linebacking position.
I think what happens sometimes when you get a quarterback like Ricky Foggy, you're calling the plays for him, and you want him to read primary receiver, secondary receiver. You give him plays where that's what he's thinking. He's got a mental set to throw the football. He forgets about running. And that's what they try to break him of. They try to get him. I guess what you have to do is call rollouts, call quarterback draws, and make him run.
30,193 watching the action this afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium, and wherever you're looking in on the CBC network. We hope you're enjoying our coverage of this game on CBC television. Smith loses yards on the attempted punt return as he's tackled by J.P. Esquerdo after a push in the best. As his recovery progresses, we had hoped, and I know that Cal had hoped, he would be back here about this time. But his delay will be slowed a bit. But, of course, everyone is hoping that when he does come back, he'll be back in excellent health and ready to resume many of his former duties. 2:55 remaining in the third quarter. The Argos have yet to register a first down in the second half. McManus is in trouble, and down he goes as he's tackled by Campbell.
Well, Mike Campbell got that sack because he just continued to work, and McManus couldn't find anybody open downfield. Good job of coverage, So Mike Campbell is the guy that got the sack. Rodney Harding helped. He made McManus reroute.
Very impressive from the point of view that the Toronto, their defense knows that their offense is struggling, but we have to get the ball back to that Toronto offense as many times as they can and give them more chances to make something happen. Get the ball into Foggy's hands.
Only one man back for the third down punt by Bob Cameron, and that's the Rocket. Graisley was going after the kick, but Cameron got it away. The Rocket goes back to his 35-yard line. He gets away from Smith. And the Rocket may turn on the afterburners here. Raghib Ismail, who scored a huge touchdown in the Grey Cup game at Winnipeg Stadium for the Argos last year, returns Bob Cameron's 50-yard kick, 73 yards for a major score.
Ho, ho, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. I mean, watch out.
The Sharks are out.
And you know, he had a perfect wall set up. We thought with the rush that he wouldn't get much blocking. They set up the wall over here to the left side. And the Rocket made his first guy miss, and then he was off and gone, and he got some great help downfield.
Winnipeg bench is absolutely furious, thinking that Brendan, let me see, that would be
Rogers.
Brendan Rogers was clipped right at the point, right at the first block of that wall, and that's what created the opening.
Well, you know, you just said a little bit before this, Dan, about the defense keeping you in the football game. Hey, look at the scoreboard. It's going to be 14-8. And they are very much in the ball game. And I'm reminded what Urban Bowman said. We haven't done anything special on special teams. He said it last week, and they got the playground play for a touchdown. He said it this week. They may have another one up their sleeve. They may have something else that they're ready to do.
Well, the Rocket showed signs of bouncing back to the form that was expected of him last week when he had 127 punt return yards against Ottawa. 73 yards for a punt return touchdown. And the Argos will also have the benefit of the wind in the fourth quarter. Rogers is the player that Dan talked about.
When we take a shot right there, you can just see that number 21 for Winnipeg is Worthman. Got the helmet just in the back. It was a very questionable call, and that is the
I think the helmet
block.
was in front, though, Dan.
But
when
that's
it came
the
in.
I'm saying that's the block that the Winnipeg bench saw from their angle. Obviously, they wanted to get the clip call.
But you know what they say, speed kills, and that number 25 has got some speed.
A 73-yard punt return touchdown for the Rocket. The first punt he has returned for a touchdown this year.
You know what you're allowed to do on a kick?
I don't know. Let's talk about this a bit.
They're coming together anyway.
I don't think it would take a lot more things to get those two guys to come together on anything.
Larry Thompson fields the kickoff. Larry Thompson stays on his feet. All the way back to the Toronto 25-yard line. A 42-yard kickoff return by Larry Thompson with 1:55 remaining in the third quarter.
Well, wouldn't you know it would come down to special teams? I mean, here's a low squib kick that's not supposed to be able to be returned. Masadi misses, and there goes Thompson.
Urban Bowman said yesterday this game's going to be based on three things. Offense, they got to catch the ball. Defensively, they have to get in the face of Ricky Foggy, and they have to make something happen on the special teams. We just got a good example of that.
Richardson bounced off a tackle, but only gets a couple of yards.
Rodney Harding just stuffed that play. He just knocked Richardson back, and that destroyed the timing. Chris Walby's a little pumped up about it, but Harding made a great play. Urban Bowman, you did something special on special teams.
Richardson has run for 126 yards. That's more than the Toronto Argonauts combined. Into the end zone. It was intended for Thompson. And the Bombers again are forced to send out the field goal unit. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have been able to move the football fairly successfully between the 25s, but the Argos have really tightened up when they get close to the goal line.
And every time they stop Richardson on first down, then they seem to have some success. But when Richardson gets on those 8-10-yard gains, they get the drives going. This should be a chip shot for Westwood. The only thing that Winnipeg leads in is field goals in the whole CFL.
A high snap that Bob Kemp.
It's a high snap. He's up top high, comes off of the turf, and able to get that down.
His had a sellout was 1987 in the playoff game against the Argos. The pinball, the ball carrier, and he stopped after a gain of 5.
Swarming defense by Winnipeg. They let him have the 5.
I miss him, but the pursuit from the backside on the cutback lanes are right there to try to shut down. Mike Clements is as nifty as anybody in this league, and it's a real compliment to guys like James West being out there, being able to make those tackles.
How about Greg Battle?
Greg Battle, unbelievable. Goes without saying, one of the best in the league.
This should be the final play of the third quarter. 2nd and 5. It's the pinball again, and the pinball gets a first down and carries into Winnipeg territory at the 54. Last run. And they need the pinball running the football to be effective. But the pinball has been hampered by a couple of injuries. Here comes the blitz, penalty flag on the play. Pass over the head of Nastasiuk. Offside or procedure? We'll wait for Bud Steen. Procedure call against Toronto. Well, when you look at the statistics, and if that's all you went by, you'd say Winnipeg wins it easily.
It's no ball game if you go by statistics. Statistics are sort of like a bikini. Go ahead, ask me.
Okay, how? I'll bite.
It doesn't show everything.
Obviously, you haven't been to the beach lately.
First and 15, Toronto. Masati wide to the left. Foggy for Masati, makes the catch, but he stepped out of bounds. The play is dead, but that's a first down pass to Paul Masati.
Now, once again, we talk about the value of the running game and how it sets up the passing. Foggy rifled that ball in there that time, and he had better protection because people are thinking run. They're concerned with pinball carrying a football. Protection's a little better. Ooh, that was almost intercepted.
Yeah, I think Donald Smith thought that he was going to pick one off over on the far side of the field.
To his credit right there, he had one hand out there. Then when he realized that he wasn't going to make the pick, he had his backhand around to make the tackle.
Hand off to the pinball. This time the pinball, as he bounced off a couple of people, bounced into the arms of a couple of defenders such as Payton and West.
How'd you like to make a living against this guy?
I tried to. He ran me out of the league. That's why he's still here. A great compliment.
He never blocked you in his life, Dan.
Yes, he did, too. The man hurt me one time. I have to admit that.
He's been around that long, too, hasn't he?
Miles celebrated his 37th birthday on the 16th of this month. How come he's still playing and you aren't, Dan? Here's Foggy throwing to the sidelines, and Murray will be about a yard short of a first down.
Well, to answer your question was the fact that I didn't have the speed to be a pulling guard.
The fans react when the officials spot the ball. It's going to be a lot closer to a first down than it initially appeared.
Well, Andrew Murray was helping them spot the ball.
Doesn't seem to matter what the sport. Players always try and offer their advice to the officials.
Always help. Look at Schultz do a good job here on Booker. Boy, that's perfect. You get those hands right up underneath and you get leverage and push him back. Now he's got to restart. He'll never make it. Chris Schultz is one of those veterans that's been playing tough all year. He's been frustrated. And Booker, like you say, Don, he may be the rookie of the year.
First ballots for all of the CFL awards are in the mail. Ricky Foggy on 3rd down picks up a first line. 1st and 10 Toronto. Ismail wide left. Masadi to the right. 17-8 the score. Winnipeg leading. The toss to the pinball. He cuts back in, and he will be close to another first down. The safety Andrew Thomas came up to make the tackle.
You got to give Pinball a whole bunch of credit because he's limped off this field about 3 times, and yet he comes back in. I was going to say they may not have enough tape because they just keep taping up his ankle, and he comes back out and he runs just like he's not hurt.
We've seen the Pinball do that a number of times this year. Get bounced around, have to be assisted off the field. He comes back and he continues to perform well. He may not be big in stature, but he has a huge heart.
That heart will make up for any amount of tape that they can put on him.
Wayne Schmidt a little bit limping there as well.
48 yards so far today for the Pinball. He came into the game with 516 rushing yards and 2nd and short.
Foggy would be an illegal pursuit.
And help those people, particularly when there's 6 men outside. Those officials on the end of the line, if they're good, they shouldn't want to call that play. They should tell him to line up on the line. Give him a spot. That's the job of the outside officials, to give that end a spot.
2nd and 6, Toronto. Foggy's pass over the head of Masadi. He wasn't even close.
I was expecting him to come on a slant, but I don't know why he threw it so far away from him.
But had he thrown that ball on the rope where it should have been, James West was coming from his inside middle linebacker spot. Could very well have gone for 6 points the other way.
You think Foggy was trying to spare his receiver?
I don't think so. I think the receivers know for a fact that once you're going to get the ball caught, particularly going over the middle, you're going to get hit. You're going to get stroked.
Somebody will be there to say hello.
Lance Chomick, who established a CFL scoring record with 236 points a year ago, will attempt a field goal of 36 yards. Movement at the line of scrimmage. This play is whistled dead, and now if it's offside. Judging by the reaction from Keith Costello, the penalty call is against the Bombers.
That might be a makeup call. What do you think, Don? When you call no end, when they're out there with 6 receivers. He did jump, but I don't think there was any contact made. He got back.
As a coach, you must have wanted to have turned and kicked the bucket when players were offside on a field goal attempt or a 3rd down punt.
That's the 2nd worst call. When you jump off sides on a field goal attempt, the worst call is roughing the kicker. Those are the 2. Those are called coach killers.
3rd and 1. The Argos going after it. Foggy will carry, and he should have it.
There was no snap count called celebrating the Blue Jays world champions.
The measurement reveals a Toronto first down. Skemp is assisted off. He's replaced by Kardash. Toss to the pinball. Mike Gray grabs him, and they drive the pinball back.
Well, if that was the pinball, that was almost a tilt, because Michael Gray didn't give him a chance at all.
Great discipline, Winnipeg defense there. They ran the toss. There is pursuit, but everybody pursues in their angle. Michael Gray, Von Booker closing hard from the backside, and that just did not allow any cutback legs for Michael Clemens.
Michael Gray's pounding that ground.
And the pinball is down again. Off, and the Bombers bang away at him. There appears to be no quit in Michael Pinball Clemens.
And that's exactly why most of the time the first shot never gets Michael Clemens down, and he stands himself and he makes himself vulnerable to a couple other of those shots coming in.
J.P. Esquerdo into the ball game again in his place. 2nd and 9, Toronto. Foggy lobs it into the end zone for Eddie Brown. Penalty flag. The call.
That could go either way.
Sampson.
Andrew Thomas is calling it against.
I'll roll the dice.
Eddie Brown.
Well, it could be against Eddie Brown. Yes, it is. Sampson was defending against Eddie Brown.
Guy had good position. Eddie Brown tried to push him off.
Sampson did a great job right there, just like a shadow. Turned inside. Once he saw Brown's hands go up, he turned inside, didn't lose contact with it. Brown had to push him out of the way to try to get back underneath to make the catch.
And Andre Thomas, he was back there with the officials trying to help them. Andre's brother and sister, Peter and Sophie, both had birthdays this week.
9:28 remaining in the game. 17-8 Winnipeg leads. Lance Chomick with a field goal attempt of 29 yards. It's good. 1st and 10 from the 35. 17-11. The Bombers lead Toronto. Richardson takes the toss, cuts it back, and gets up to the 42. Linebacker Ken Benson came up to make the tackle. McManus looking over to the bench for some help in his play selections.
Now, when he gets 6-7 yards, that's easy to call a play on 2nd and 3. Most everything works.
But you know, you would think 220 yards passing for McManus as opposed to 53 for Foggy would pretty much tell the story of the ball game, but the Argos are hanging tough thanks to superb defensive play such as that effort by Braswell and Warren. Richardson stopped well short of the 1st down, and the Bombers again are forced to kick it away. Can a football team win a game with 53 yards of passing offense in the CFL?
Yeah, you know, 63 comes in here and he just crushes Benson, but my guy Jeff Braswell, who dances to a different drummer, orchestra, and brass band, made the tackle.
Last time the Rocket fielded a punt, he took it 73 yards for a major score. The Rocket awaits this kick by Bob Cameron. And this time he's forced to step out of bounds at the 37. The 30's
on the way back out. So maybe we'll see Foggy do some running.
Pinball is out on the punt return team, but he is not remaining on the field. It's 1st and 10 from the 37. Foggy's under pressure. Vaughn Booker is after him. Foggy is able to throw to Ismael along the sidelines, and he's got a 1st down at the 49.
What an incredible play that time by a quarterback to be able to get out, get the pressure on. Vaughn Booker's chased him to his left and be able to get enough momentum and his shoulders turned upfield to complete the pass on the rope to the Rocket downfield.
Well, Booker's in here. He's got a pretty good angle on him, and he can run. This guy's got good speed, but Foggy's the best at breaking contain. He's probably the best in the league.
Foggy's had to believe he can run a whole lot faster scared than Vaughn Booker can man.
Clemens is back in the ball game. 1st and 10 from the 49. 7:17 remaining. The handoff to Clemens, and he is stopped right at the line of scrimmage.
Michael Gray made him cut back to the inside, and that's what distorted that play.
A really slow developing play that time where you had Clemens lined up 4 or 5 yards deep in the end zone. The handoff took place deep, and that allows that Winnipeg defense to get some penetration and to just disrupt the play completely.
One thing you know about Winnipeg's defense, they're always going to be stunting. So those linemen coming down to the inside, you got to be able to make your break around them.
2nd and 10. Masadi wide left. The Rocket to the right. Foggy forced out. Penalty flag. The pass knocked away. Rod Hill stepped in front of the Rocket to knock it down. It looks like a holding call against Toronto, but almost certainly it will be declined by Winnipeg. Referee Bud Steen's microphone continues to cause some problems, but you saw the signal, a holding call against Toronto, declined by Winnipeg.
Paul Nastasiak, it was called for holding on Paul Randolph.
Plummer fields the punt. He returns it to the 36-yard line. That's where Winnipeg, they say, statistics don't always tell the complete story. 266 first half yards to win it for Winnipeg, 47 for Toronto, 102-82 for Winnipeg so far in the second half. But the Argos still have a shot at winning. They only trail by 6 points. Winnipeg 1st and 10 from the 36-yard line, 6:08 remaining in the game. Richardson will be close to another first down.
That was a great second effort by Richardson. He was stopped. Jeff Braswell came up and hit him, and he stung Jeff Braswell. You'll see number 57 come in, and he stung him. He actually pounded him, and then he broke loose and made the first down. Braswell's out of the game. Good job here. Chris Walby on Rodney Harding, and he just engulfed him.
Good leverage inside.
A key game coming up next Sunday, and we'll be at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton as the defensive player of the week, and Dennis Meyer says he adds emotion to our defensive play.
Dennis Meyer likes him. He likes what he does in practice. He likes what he does in the ball games. He's an aggressive guy, and he's always around the football.
Second and less than a yard. Warren Hudson, I don't think, is going to get it, depending on the spot. But that was a slow developing.
Defensive linemen of the Argos, Milburn, Harding, Campbell, they came in low, and they let those glory guys, those linebackers, come in and make the play.
Well, and you know, if you play on a good defense, and if you play on a disciplined defense, those guys are getting paid to do their job. If my job is the point, or a linebacker's job is the point, once the holes are all taken, then you're supposed to make the tackle. If you don't make the tackle, then you're not.
The toss to Richardson. He'll be close to another first down. And that's what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers need in the final 5 minutes of this football game. Richardson with big yards on first down.
He turns sideways and he makes people miss. The incredible thing about Richardson is he's got some drive and he's got that lateral movement.
Runs right through the arm tackle of Benson, 73. You cannot arm tackle this guy. The offensive line of Winnipeg is very inspired. They are winning right now at the point of attack.
And Richardson hasn't fumbled this game, has he?
Second and 1, and that was a strange quarterback sneak on the part of Danny McManus.
That was the ugliest quarterback.
Defensive tackle position for the Argos. It's short.
You want to bet he doesn't run another quarterback sneak?
Well, Dennis Myers telling him to.
Yeah, I bet Coach Myers would love to see him run that again.
He's got Keith Costello coming over for some instructions.
Third down, Winnipeg. A big play for the Bombers.
It'll be interesting to see if they come out with just some straight dive handoff, or if you see McManus come and counter out, something that takes a little time to develop.
McManus keeps. He'll get the first down.
Over to the house for tea and crumpets afterwards.
It looked as though it was almost automatic that McManus had a first down.
Well, the surge came through, and it looked like McManus followed right with it. Here you see the surge of the offensive line.
So the Argos are 1st and 10. Foggy's pass is complete.
Oh, boy.
And the Rocket has a first down at the 40-yard line, stopped by Smith.
Can you believe, with all of those yards that Winnipeg has, that they are threatening, the Argos are threatening to win this ballgame?
The thing that happens right now defensively, that Winnipeg has to respect Rocket's speed, and it's allowing him to make those curl route and allowing Foggy to throw the ball underneath.
5 turnovers by the Bombers. All those yards, that's been their undoing. This is a deep pass for the Rocket, incomplete. He was being covered by Smith. I think the Rocket had stepped out of bounds in running his pattern.
And Alfred Payton hurried Ricky Foggy on that throw.
3:06 remaining in the game.
Foggy's only looked at the Rocket so far in this ball game. He has not gotten the ball to many other receivers. Darrell K. Smith, usually the clutch guy in these situations, he hasn't gotten the ball at all.
Second and 10 from the Winnipeg 40. Here comes the pressure. Foggy's pass to Massotti, and Massotti makes the catch at 7 as the time remaining. We'll be back. Winnipeg coach Urban Bowman will probably be the first to tell you it's been a strange kind of football game this afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium. His defense has kept the Bombers in a number of games this year, and with 2:45 remaining, the Bombers need some big defensive plays here, or the Argos might pull this one out. Kevin Smelly is stopped by Gray.
The one thing you got to say for the offense of the Argos, they must be fresh. They haven't played much.
The Argos have not won a regular season game in Winnipeg or a playoff game in Winnipeg since October 1st, 1989. Last year, of course, they did win the Grey Cup game over the Calgary Stampeders here at Winnipeg Stadium, and in that game it was an 87-yard kickoff return by the Rocket that helped propel them to victory. Will his 73-yard punt return for a touchdown do the same thing today? Foggy still in his feet. Running back into trouble. Penalty flag in the play. This is going against the Argos. Clip will be called against the Toronto. Microphone continues to cause problems, but there's no doubt that Chris Schultz right there on Randolph is guilty of the clip. Anything else?
Ran out of gas, perhaps. When that fuel tank is empty, the man's got to breathe.
Well, but when you're starting to get in games like this and you're starting to get down toward the playoff games, you got to run on fumes.
Well, with the advent of standard time, sunset occurs just a little earlier on the prairies. And will the sun set on the Argo hopes of repeating as Grey Cup champions? Sideline pattern incomplete, intended for the Rocket, knocked away by Smith.
When you're lining up on the other side of the ball and you know that that's going to happen, it makes it pretty simple to play defense against a team like this, particularly when you've got the kind of guys with weapons like D.K. Smith and those guys that are out there and you're not using them. Somebody's got to get a bug in the ear or the coaching a little bit and let Foggy know what's happening.
Field goal attempt by Lance Chomick is good.
His age.
Richardson up to the 42-yard line. Again, checking the out-of-town scoreboard. In case you missed it, Saskatchewan beat BC 41-22 to move within 2 points of second place Edmonton in the West. And Ottawa, with a 31-9 win over Hamilton, temporarily moves into a second-place tie in the East with Winnipeg. 2nd and 4, Winnipeg. 1:31 remaining. Richardson won't get the first down. Again, that Argo defensive unit has held. The Argos next week play in Ottawa on Sunday, November 8th. They're at home to Hamilton, and the friends and families of the Argos are organizing their 3rd annual food drive supporting the Daily Bread Food Bank. Fans are asked to bring along any non-perishable food items, especially powdered milk and baby food. All donations, of course, are welcome and will be received outside the entrance gates to Skydome. The friends and the families of the Argos thank you in advance.
Well, Don, they've done it once, and here's a chance right now for that return team to give Rocket an opportunity to put Toronto in a huge field position that hopefully they'll be able to put some points on the board.
Well, the Argo defense came up big when they had to. They're still in the ballgame.
And with the strong wind at their back, they are within field goal range of Lance Chomick. This ball bounces back towards the line of scrimmage. The Rocket has got it, and there's a penalty flag. Only a 21-yard kick by Cameron. On the bounce-back call, it's only a 5-yard penalty against Bobby Evans of the Bombers.
My only question would be on the philosophy of what Toronto's taking into this offensively. They don't have the time to run the ball like they would like to do to be able to set up field position. And they've only been able to throw the ball at the Rocket. No other receivers.
3 receivers wide to the left this time. The Rocket is lined up to the right. Darrell K. Smith makes the catch, and he's stopped short of a first down by Greg Battle. 1:11 the time remaining.
They have a big bend formation where they put the 3 wide receivers, or 3 receivers to the wide side of the field. They left Rocket on the backside, so they're probably trying to set up some sort of a throwback.
Second and 2. Smelly should have the first down.
Chomick has kicked a 53-yard field goal, so they are within his range right now. But if you analyze this thing, the Argos all day have had that surge on their defensive line. They've held them on short yardage nearly all day.
Well, they held them when they really had to on a goal line stand at the end of the first half. First and 10, Toronto. 50 seconds remaining. The Rocket, deep pass, incomplete. Bobby Evans got back, recovering just in time.
Well, Bobby Evans recovered because the ball had too much air under it. If that ball had been delivered with a little more velocity and less rainbow, Bobby Evans wouldn't have had a chance to recover. The Rocket had to wait for it to come back. Gave Evans a chance.
When Evans saw the Rocket streaking down the field and in behind him, do you think he was saying, uh-oh?
He said, whoops.
That would be as good as we could say it on television anyway.
43 seconds remaining. Foggy is being chased by James West. He throws along the sidelines for Smith. This will be a Toronto first down. 36.
Side contained. I mean, the kid is incredible. He can throw on the run, and you wonder where he's been all day.
That's my question. Where was that the whole first half, and what kind of offense they could have established?
They just can't catch him. They take a good angle. Booker had a good angle on him. West had a good angle. They couldn't catch him.
30 seconds remaining. Chomick getting set.
Wasting precious time right there on the line. The clock is running.
Seems to be some confusion on the part of the Argos. Now the clock was running, and maybe they're going to put 2 seconds back on the clock. There were 30 seconds showing. Lance Chomick has faced pressure situations before and responded. Actually, they put 6 seconds back in the clock. They take it back to 34 seconds remaining.
Maybe the best thing for Chomick would be to try a long field goal. He's done better on long ones this year than he has on short ones.
For Masadi, over his head. Rod Hill was running with him. 22 seconds remain. Chomick keeps that kicking leg ready. He's 2 for 2 today and has hit one from 48 yards out.
He talked about missing those short ones. He said, I lifted my head up, ruined my follow-through.
Well, he likened the kicking motion to a golf swing. Keep your head down and follow through. Chomick likes to relax the day before a game by playing golf. Foggy for the Rocket. Incomplete. Darrell Sampson was defending against Raghav Ismail. There's a penalty flag down at the 10-yard line. No flag on the play.
You think those flags just jump out sometimes?
16 seconds remaining. Lance Chomick has the opportunity to send this game into overtime.
Turn on the lights. This one could go on for a while.
He's been good from 29 and 48 yards. This will be a 39-yard field goal attempt for Lance Chomick. It's good. 12 seconds remaining with Winnipeg for second place, but if the Argos win this one, then the Argos are only 2 points back.
Well, maybe they're shooting for first. I mean, in the Eastern Division, everybody's shooting for first place.
There can't be anybody more happier right now than Lance Chomick when he hit that ball.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to put the supper back in the stove because this one...
Richardson, the ball carrier, being chased by Don Moon. McManus throws a block for Richardson. And that takes all the time off the clock. A good run by Mike Richardson, but there is no time remaining in regulation. And we'll be back. Winnipeg defeated Hamilton in overtime, 36-33. Winnipeg and Hamilton had another overtime game on August the 27th, with Hamilton winning 37-35.
Let's give Chomick a lot of credit because with Olisic hurt, he had to do the punting, and some kickers would have said, hey, I've been worked overtime. I'm not going to be able to kick all those field goals. But Lance Chomick kept chipping away. It's a whole new ball game.
2 5-minute overtime halves. Plummer and Thompson are deep. Thompson takes the ball at the 5-yard line. It almost looked as though the Bombers were setting up a return left, and he took off to the right.
You know, as a coach, that drives you crazy. You've got all of your blockers set up in one direction, and the running back or the returner thinks he sees something, and he takes it the other way.
One thing he'll see after the game is the coach.
He'll see Urban Bowman. I'm sure Urban will have a few words with him.
You look over there and say, is that exactly the way we practice this all week? And then why would you go that way? And if you're going to make that, you've got to make something big happen, because then it makes the coach forget about how you messed up.
Yeah, you're only allowed to do the wrong thing if you make something good out of it.
That's exactly.
First and 10, Winnipeg from the 22-yard line. Reggie Pleasant had his sights set on that football. Larry Thompson may have actually prevented Pleasant from intercepting.
Now, if it hadn't been for Thompson, that ball may have been intercepted by Pleasant. This is when the offense becomes the defense and the defense becomes the offense. Pleasant makes a good break for the ball, and Thompson said, oh, let go of that ball.
He leads the Argos in career interceptions. Second and 10, Winnipeg. The toss to Richardson. The man who destroyed the Argos in the first half hasn't had the same success in the second half or in overtime. Stopped by Mike Campbell. Winnipeg will be forced to kick it away.
Could be at some point. I'd question the call running the toss play on a 2nd and 10 there. They've had good success running the ball, but not as much as they would like to have, not against the fired up Toronto defense.
They fooled me. I never would have guessed they'd run the sweep on that particular situation.
So now that backs up Cameron. He's got to kick into the wind. You got the Rocket as the returner. They're going to get automatic field position.
The Rocket takes it at the midfield stripe, nowhere to go, but he is able to pick up about
in the history of the CFL, 22 in fact, and as you can see, 18 of them have been decided, which is to say that only 4 ended tied. So the odds are against Winnipeg and Toronto finishing tied at 17. And, you know, we've talked about the possible orders of finish in the East Division. I think it's best for all concerned if somebody wins this game today.
First and 10, Ricky Foggy directs the attack from the 49-yard line. Darrell K. Smith over the middle, and that's one that DK should have caught.
Yeah, he just took that ball and looked upfield, and guess what? The ball wasn't there.
DK had a streak of 96 consecutive games catching at least one pass, ended 2 weeks ago against Edmonton. Speaking of streaks, Craig Ellis caught one yesterday for Edmonton. He now has gone 117 consecutive games catching at least one pass.
Tremendous compliment to the way that Craig Ellis has played.
2nd and 10, Toronto from the 49. For the Rocket. First down, Toronto.
What a great pass, but what a great play by Ricky Foggy, standing in the pocket and just taking an absolute shot in the mouth by Von Booker, and throws the ball out there. And what Rocket does is, once he makes his cut, is to come back, create a little more cushion between he and the defender, and then he goes up to get the block.
And Booker does a good job, uses that spin on Schultz, and he gets in. Foggy sees the blur when you get Booker coming in at your left side. That's the dangerous side.
1st and 10 from the 37. The pinball into the middle. He tried to reach out for some additional yards and then wisely pulled the football back before somebody knocked it away from him.
He thought better of that. Wisely is right. Somebody, one of those linebackers, would be glad to take that ball away from him.
A pickup of 2 for the pinball. 2:07 is the time remaining in the first overtime half. Now watch him reach out. And then he says, maybe I better pull this one back.
He saw Greg Battle coming in. Maybe I better not do that.
2nd and 8. Foggy's throwing deep for the Rocket. Incomplete. Pardon me, Brown, not the Rocket. That was Donald Smith defending against him. So accustomed to seeing Foggy throw for the Rocket, as the Rocket ran down the field, automatically assumed it was him.
Yeah, they put the Rocket on the left side most often. Now they're flipping him over. Randy Brown jumped at the right time, but Smith had a little body check in there.
John Kangemi will hold as Lance Chomick tries to put the Argos ahead with a 42-yard field goal attempt. It's good.
The one thing, and that is to keep coming from behind.
McManus, oh, almost intercepted as he tried to throw it to Rob Creefel. Don Wilson knocked it away.
How many balls have been in the hands of the Argo defenders and they just didn't catch it?
McManus keeps looking at that wristband for his play selections.
Well, Urban Bowman gives the quarterbacks those wristbands so that they will coordinate their formations with the play selection. It's not always what play they're going to run, but what formations they have to call with it.
2nd and 10. Oh, bobbled by Pillow as it was deflected by a couple of Argos.
Pillow did a great job just to get his hands on it. Almost came up with a great reception. Went right through the hands of Benson, the linebacker.
Yeah, Benson and Barry were right there. So the Winnipeg offense has stalled late in the 4th quarter and here in the overtime.
Yeah, in the 4th quarter, when they had to keep moving the football, they were unable to do so, and the Argos got the opportunity to kick the tying points. A pair of field goals late by Lance Chomick has forced overtime, and now another Chomick field goal has the Argos in front 20-17.
Punt snaps have been a problem for Winnipeg. That ball isn't getting back there very fast.
Again, the Argos will get the ball in good field position. Pretty good kick into the wind by Cameron. And the Rocket gets to the outside. Could he break another one? Well, it's been the rocket show today at Winnipeg Stadium, as a pass receiver, as a punt returner. In the fourth quarter, Winnipeg was really upset with the spot of this football on a third down gamble by Danny McManus. He needed less than a yard. Winnipeg thought they had it. It looked as though it was almost automatic. But McManus was driven back, and the Bombers were really upset.
And the Argos are threatening again. 33-yard line because of that return from the Rocket.
A 73-yard punt return for a touchdown by the Rocket. A 43-yard return by the Rocket. Foggy overthrows the Rocket.
I don't know if Rod Hill stopped because that ball was thrown so far away from the Rocket, or if he just got beat. I would like to think that he saw the ball was overthrown and stopped. What would you think, Don? The players do that, Dan? Do players take that big a chance?
I would think he may take that big a chance. I mean, Rod's been around the league a long time. If he saw that ball thrown where it was actually thrown, he would think that if he didn't have a chance to get there, maybe the Rocket doesn't too. So he took a roll of the dice, and it came up on his end.
23 seconds remaining in the first overtime half. 2nd and 10. Darrell K. Smith was overthrown that time.
Yeah, but Darrell K. Smith was breaking to the outside, and Foggy threw the ball to the inside. Now Foggy's telling him you went the wrong way.
That's it.
And Darrell K's saying, well, how many field goals have we seen Chomik kick through this goalpost?
All 4 have gone in this direction. He's trying to make it a perfect day. 5 for 5.
It's good.
It's good. 15 seconds remaining in the first overtime half, and the Argos find the long way from.
Oh, wait a second. You don't have anything against Harmony Grits now.
I love him.
Okay. All right now.
Winnipeg 1st and 10 from the 35. Richardson, the ball carrier. He improves his rushing statistics, but only 9 seconds remain on the scoreboard clock in this first overtime half. 2 separate halves in overtime for those not familiar with the rules.
I'm going to go way out on a limb and make a prediction, Don. I think Richardson will get 1,000 yards this year.
You know, not since 1953 has there been a season without a 1,000-yard runner. Richardson isn't going to get the first down, but that is the final play of the first overtime half. So we'll be back with the must score a touchdown to win it. Or I suppose they could win it with 3 Troy Westwood field goals. The Argos will be operating against the wind in this second overtime half, but they will get the football.
But can't counting very much on their defense, and the defense is what held them in this game for the first 60 minutes, and actually right now 65 minutes. It's actually 2 very, very different games. You got the first 60 minutes of playing wide open, go for it, deep passes, and then when you get into the overtime situation, you really do change your whole philosophy where you know that 3 points or even 1 point could bring you out a win.
Well, Denny Meyer said that you got to win either offense, defense, or special teams. If you win 2 of those 3, you win the ball game.
The Rocket mishandles the ball back at the 5-yard line. And he gets it back out to the 38. When he turns on those afterburners, he leaves some people in his wake.
Yeah, that was an excellent return. It's kind of like a hockey player that can skate. You know, this guy can run, and he makes things happen. Even after he fumbles the ball, which he does almost every kick return. 33
yards on the kickoff return for the Rocket. He has an opportunity this year to set a league record for kickoff return yardage. Stacey Dawson of Ottawa established the mark of 1,307 yards back in 1990. The pinball is hit hard as soon as he got the football by Payton. 4:28 remaining in the second overtime half.
Well, Alfred Payton does almost everything you want a guy to do. He gets sacks, he causes fumbles, he throws teams for losses, and wham, he's right in there. Those linebackers just swarm all over the field. They've got great pursuit, and they have done a good job of shutting down just about everything the Argos have tried.
Attitude, serious attitude on that defensive side.
On the sidelines, a big catch by Paul Massotti.
You know, Foggy will throw the ball on occasions with such authority. I mean, you can hear that football banging into those pads from up here, and you think, gee, this guy can complete every pass he throws. But you look at his statistics, not so good. He's only around 45%.
So the one word that comes quickly to mind once you bring that out is inconsistency. He's just inconsistent in the way he throws it in the plays that he calls.
I'll bet he's about 75% when he throws on the run.
Seems to be much more effective. 1st and 10, Toronto. They are at the 50-yard line. The toss to the pinball. And the pinball was bounced back to James West. West got a piece of him initially. Then it looked as though the pinball was going to escape, and Payton drove him right back into James West, who makes the tackle.
Those guys are fighting over him. They're fighting over who's going to make the tackle.
Somebody's got to block West as he comes in there. He's wide open. He nails pinball. Turns him around. Pinball does a great job. Like I said earlier, the first shot usually doesn't put pinball down. And then as West laying on his back, he's able to make another tackle.
That went boing, bonk.
2:59 remaining in the football game. 23-17, the Argos lead. 2nd and 20. Foggy steps up, throws deep. Incomplete, intended for Smith. So with 2:41 remaining, the Bombers should get the ball back in reasonable field position.
Pretty good blocking up front, and I think you got to credit both offensive lines because they've been playing well. Both defenses have been playing well. Once Foggy gets through that initial charge, he should run. He's going to make the first down, no question.
Lance Chomick taking as much time off the clock as possible. He lets the 20-second clock run right down before calling for the ball, and this is a pretty good punt by Chomick. Fielded by Thompson. Thompson gets to his own 49-yard line. Stopped there by Bruce Dixon. A 30-yard kick, a 9-yard return. 2:10 remains in the game.
They help give this team the energy. They're really educated football fans here.
Larry Thompson goes wide left. McManus over the middle for Crefo. Oh, what a fine recovery just at the last moment by Dave Van Bellingham as Crefo appeared to be in behind him.
Well, that's what your center fielder is supposed to do. I mean, he's the goalie back there, and he's got to help on anything inside, and he makes the break, but wow, that's pretty close. Good play.
2nd and 10, Winnipeg. The Bombers at their own 49, 1:42 remaining in the second overtime half. And he gets the call this afternoon.